Why Sidra will make it to Binance during listing. Welcome back to the channel. This is Crypto Grok, and today we're diving into one of the biggest questions shaking the Sidra community. Could Sidra actually make it onto Binance during its listing phase? For many people, this feels like a huge leap. But when you break down the fundamentals, the ecosystem moves, the partnerships, the structure, and the momentum surrounding Sidra, the possibility becomes a lot more realistic than most expect. First, every Binance listing historically follows a pattern: strong ecosystem activity, large user demand, transparent tokenomics, real-world use cases, and ongoing development. Sidra checks more boxes than most new projects. The network isn't just launching a token, it's building an infrastructure, a payment layer, a startup ecosystem, and a utility-driven environment that attracts real users instead of empty hype. Binance prefers projects with active communities, and the Sidra community is one of the fastest growing in its early stage. Another major factor is Sidra's mining-based distribution. Binance loves tokens, with fair distribution models that prevent centralization and manipulation, because Sidra miners earn gradually through effort, not through a massive private sale. The supply isn't concentrated in a few hands. This alone puts Sidra in a stronger position compared to many VC-backed coins that Binance often lists much later, only after demand forces their hand. Third, the ecosystem partnerships surrounding Sidra are expanding quickly. Whether it's startups building on the chain, integration discussions, or the movement happening around Regs Global and GLN's linked projects, Binance often watches for early multi-sector traction. Sidra is showing that kind of traction right now, especially with applications forming before the listing even begins. Binance routinely lists coins that demonstrate early real-world or enterprise-level adoption potential, and Sidra aligns well with that behavior. Next, we have the community demand factor. Binance has repeatedly said that community size and engagement heavily influence listing decisions. Sidra's early community is not only large, but incredibly active. Miners, ambassadors, educators, and ecosystem creators are all fueling constant attention. When a token's hype is organic rather than paid, Binance sees it as long-term potential instead of a temporary pump. Finally, timing plays a role. Binance often lists emerging ecosystem coins at the beginning of a new market cycle. Sidra is gearing up at exactly the right moment, when exchanges are preparing to refresh their listings, traders are hunting for the next big narrative, and utility-focused blockchains are gaining momentum again. Sidra's mix of utility, mining distribution, partnerships, and community energy fits perfectly into what Binance typically looks for during expansion phases. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. No analyst or YouTuber can promise a Binance listing. But when you study the patterns, compare the data, and look at the early signals, Sidra stands out as a project with a real chance, far better than the average new token. Whether it happens immediately, shortly after listing, or later in the cycle, the foundations Sidra is building are exactly the kind that major exchanges eventually reward. And if Binance sees the same potential the community sees right now, the door is wide open for Sidra to break into the biggest stage in crypto. This is Crypto Grok. Stay tuned, because the next chapter for Sidra might be bigger than anyone expects.